We are in it. We are live. We are on. Good morning. Good morning, everybody on LinkedIn. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, X. Good morning, Rumble. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, TikTok. Y'all see what the topic is here today? For those of you on TikTok, they say y'all can't see it. Why America already? Why America is great right now? And I'm going to tell you where it comes from. First of all, we all understand that is, again, now sworn in as president of the United States of America. We all know that happened yesterday. Yesterday, I was talking about Donald Trump part 2, what to expect from this upcoming administration and what it means, what it's going to mean for all. Today, I want to talk about why America is great now. And this is a topic that I actually started talking about during Donald Trump's, it was in between his first process as president and when he was running for the second term, the 2020 election, that the shenanigans that went on with 2020. And there were people who are always derisively saying, when Donald Trump would throw out that phrase, make America great again, people would say, well, when was America ever great? This is usually usually it was black people saying this, when was America ever great? Or there were the white people who consider themselves, I guess, allies of people who are black and brown or minorities or what is it? They call it historically marginalized communities. They were saying, when was America ever great? For certain people, America was never great. It was never great if you're a part of the LGBT community. It was never great if you're black or brown. It was never great if you're a woman. It was never great unless you're anything but a heterosexual white man. America was never great. I am going to challenge that and let you know that America has been great and it is great right now. I think Donald Trump's going to make it greater again. As I said yesterday, and as I've said many times over the last few months, America dodged a bullet by not re-electing Biden had he stayed in the race, and dodged a bullet by, I think it would have been even worse had America elected Kamala as the president. So a bullet got dodged, good pun intended there when it comes to Trump. And we're going to take a look objectively as to why America has been great, why America has been great in the past, why it's great now, and why it's going to be even greater in the future. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. Former 9-year pro athlete, author, 30. Created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is level performance done consistently and producing results. You can find out more about that at workonyourgameuniversity.com. You get on my email list, get my emails that I send out every day for free by going to workonmygame.com. I'll talk a little bit about that maybe at a later date, but let's get into the topic here today. Why America is already great and why America will continue to be great, at least under current, as of yesterday, current leadership. So the funny thing is when putting together this, and again, I first started talking about this in like 2019, 2020, is that when you say that America is great or make America great again, this is somehow looked at as some type of controversial thing for a person living in America to say that America is great. How is that even controversial? How are you living here in the United States of America and you don't think the country is great, or you don't want the country to be great, or you want the country to maybe not do well just because of who's in charge? That doesn't make any sense. And I only noticed people talking like this when Donald Trump came around. When he won in 2016, there was a good amount of people talking like this, but it wasn't as strong as it is now. And when the 2024 election, which of course we know Donald Trump won and now he's the president, I see many people who were against Trump. They were not fans of Trump. They didn't vote for Trump. They're not happy that Trump won. Fine. You can have your own political opinion, whatever it happens to be. But to be actively hoping that whatever he does fails and doesn't work doesn't make any sense when you live here in the United States of America. That doesn't make sense. Why would you even do that? If you live in the United States and you participate in the election for a president, even if you don't participate, let's just say you have an opinion. You have an opinion of who wins between Biden and Trump, or between Trump and Kamala, or Trump and Hillary, or Obama and McCain, Obama and Romney, whoever. Let's say the person that you want to win doesn't win. So the other guy's going to win. Why would you want that person to fail when you still live here? That doesn't make any sense. This is a childish, immature way of looking at things. I believe that when it comes to Donald Trump, this has become the strongest that I've ever seen. I never saw people rooting so hard against the president of a country that you live in when you still live here. It'd be one thing if you're leaving a country and you want to see the country fail because you're not going to live here anymore. But if you're still going to live here, why would you want it to come up short? Why would you want the president to come up short and not be successful? Because that means part of that lack of success is going to affect you. It's going to rub off on you in some way, shape, or form. Even if, again, I said, I believe we dodged the bullet by not electing Kamala Harris. But had she won, I wouldn't be actively hoping for her to fail because I still live here. I ain't going nowhere. I'm not leaving the country, at least not yet. I would not want her to fail and come up short. I would say, okay, I wouldn't want her. I didn't think she was a better choice, but it is the choice that the majority of Americans want. Let's see where it goes. And hopefully she doesn't do too bad. Even if she does bad, hopefully she's not that bad. And it should be the same thing. And when people looking at Trump, the challenge with Trump, as opposed to Kamala or Obama or Hillary or Biden or W or anybody else we've seen in the last 25 years, is that people get so emotionally engaged when it comes to Trump, especially on the negative side, that they can't think logically or objectively about anything that he says, does, or represents, or anybody who is connected to him. That's the crazy part. Again, if America is not great, if you think America is not great, or you think America will not become great, or is not going to get better, and you actually think it's going to get worse because Donald Trump is the president, and there are a lot of people who think this, if you truly believe that, you have 194 other options in terms of countries in which you could live. So why would you stay here? Why would you stay here knowing that it's going backwards? That doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like you get on a train and you're supposed to get on the train going eastbound, but you find out you're on the train going westbound, and then you just stay on the train. All right, why would you do that? If you believe that the train's going the wrong direction, why would you stay on the train? And the reason is most people don't actually believe it. It's just most people are just throwing rhetoric out there because it feels good and it sounds good, but they don't seriously believe it. Because if you seriously believe that, you will move out of the country. And you remember in 2016, a bunch of people were saying, and people were saying it more strongly back then than they are now. They were saying, well, Donald Trump wins, I'm going to leave the country. Right? Remember that? Donald Trump wins, I'm going to move out of the country. And people were saying it a lot more in 2016 than they said this time, because in 2016, a lot of people did not believe any way he could possibly win. I didn't think there was any way he could possibly win in 2016. I saw that he was running, but I didn't think he would actually win. And people were throwing it out there. If he wins, I'm going to leave, because it was like sarcasm. But then he actually won, and then they were held accountable and they had to shut up. In 2024, you didn't hear too many people saying that they were going to leave the country. They may have alluded to it, but it wasn't as many. Let me say, there were some people who threw it out there, but there was not nearly as many this time around as it was the first time around, because they realized that it's possible this guy could actually win. That's to say nothing about what happened in 2020, which, again, my official word on the 2020 election is that there were shenanigans. Will we ever know what actually happened in that election? Not really. We'll never officially know, but we all can look at the numbers. We look at Obama's numbers in his 2 elections, look at Hillary's numbers in her election, look at Biden's numbers in 2020, then look at Kamala's numbers in 2024, and something does not look right. We all can agree to that. Even if you voted for all the Democrats that I just mentioned, something doesn't look right when you compare the numbers of all those people. Then Biden goes all the way up here, and then Kamala goes right back to how it was for Hillary and Obama. It doesn't make sense. And I think Obama was more popular than all of them. How did Biden get way more votes than everybody? That just doesn't. But anyway, we ain't here to talk about that here today. Let's move on to the next point. And by the way, I'm going to take comments at the end of this. When I get through these points, I'm going to take questions and comments. So it tells me, the second point is this: when people, just the phrase "make America great again" is somehow a controversial phrase. The MAGA hashtag is a controversial hashtag. It's a controversial thing to say you support Donald Trump or you want him to do well, or you are MAGA. It's becoming more and more, slowly becoming more acceptable now. But if any of you remember back in 2016, 2017, going through that whole first term, even into the 2020 election, supporting Donald Trump, it was like a toxic thing to do. Now, you have to be very careful about who you announce that around. And then in 2020, or in 2021, let's say, Biden gets sworn in as president. During that time, 2021 into 2022, and all these negative things being said about Donald Trump and MAGA and the January 6ers, who rightfully are being pardoned right now. When all of that stuff started happening, it was even worse to be a supporter of Donald Trump, because now you're supporting somebody who overthrows the government, or somebody who staged an insurrection, or all these things that people are throwing out there. I did a live stream talking about this on January 6th, a couple weeks ago, by the way. For those of you who didn't catch it, you can catch the replay on my YouTube channel. If you're watching me on anything other than YouTube, make sure you go to my YouTube. It's just youtube.com/@DreB, D-R-E-B. That's the first letter of my last name, which is Baldwin. And you can get all the replays of all the lives I've ever done. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, for those you don't know. And again, I'm going to take questions at the end. So it tells me how far we've fallen in terms of discourse here in our country, because so many people cannot think critically just because of your emotional engagement negatively over this guy and the phrase he represents and the movement he represents and the people who are supporters of him. All right. And unfortunately, most people are not critical thinkers and never will be. But I'm still going to make my case simply and succinctly enough that people can understand it, whether you agree with it or you disagree with it. So let's get into this whole why America is great right now, because I said that's the argument that I want to make here today. Why is America great right now? First thing you have to accept is great does not mean perfect. Great does not mean perfect. When you look at the two candidates that we had in the 2024 election, you had Donald Trump and you started with Joe Biden, who was declining. And it was obvious during that debate when he looked and sounded that it was over for him. So they replaced him with Kamala Harris. So the vote came down to Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. Is either one of these candidates perfect? No. But which one would you rather have? I think, just looking at it personally, even if I did not have a vote, which of these candidates would I rather have? I would. Number one, Donald Trump had to go through the gauntlet of the primary and he had to beat competition in order to get his spot. He had to do it in 2016. He had to do it again in 2020. He had to do it again in 2024. He had more competition in 2016 than he had in the subsequent times. And that's because everybody knew they couldn't beat him. All the other Republicans who might want to run for president knew they couldn't beat him. So he basically took all the air out of the ball for 3 straight election cycles for the Republicans, because nobody even thought they had a chance of beating him after what he did to everybody in 2016. So in 2016, who did you have? You had Ted Cruz, you had Bush, you had several other people. There's a bunch of people in there, but he stomped them all out, and none of them even tried again in 2020, and nobody tried in 2024. And for that reason alone, I would rather have him, because he's actually been through the battle of having to earn his nomination. Kamala Harris, she went through the primary in the 2020 season, or she started to. She didn't actually go through it. She dropped out before they even started voting because her campaign wasn't doing very well. What does that tell me? And let's just say nothing of subjectively what I think about it, but what does that tell us? It tells us that she was not strong enough to even beat other Republicans to get a nomination. So for her to end up and kind of back into a nomination in 2024, that she did not have to go through the gauntlet in order to get. Well, what do we even know about this person? Is this person battle tested? She wasn't battle tested. And that's the challenge. Just on that alone, if I didn't even know their names, you just gave me that information, I say this person's not battle tested. We don't know if they even have earned their spot. Well, they haven't earned their spot. We don't know if this person's even ready to deal with it because they haven't done battle. They didn't have to fight in order to get their spot. That's one reason. Another reason is, this one becomes more subjective, was the things that the Biden-Harris administration was okay with. And there were 2 specific things that the Kamala Harris campaign was based around. All of you know this if you pay any attention to politics. Number one, it was celebrating the freedom to abort a child that you have voluntarily created. And again, it's not necessarily that you had to be 100% pro-life and 100% against abortion to think that's crazy. It just sounds crazy that someone's going to build an entire election. Is kind of satanic, if you ask me. It just doesn't sound right. I get supporting a woman's right to decide. Let's say that you just get pregnant, you didn't mean to, and you decide you don't want to keep the child. I get the concept of giving a woman a right to decide whether she wants to carry the child or not. I actually do get that. At the same time, we're not going to make that into I'm not going to build my whole campaign around the celebration of that concept. That just doesn't sit right with me. And Kamala built her whole campaign around, that was the main thing of her campaign, was all about what? Women's freedom, women's right to choose. What do they call it? What other thing they were calling it? I can't remember the other phrase they used. All of it was softening language that they were using in order to say what they didn't actually want to say, which is, we want to celebrate the right to kill and end this life that I voluntarily created. Because that's how most pregnancies happen. Most pregnancies happen through voluntary action. It's not incest. It's not the R word. 99% of pregnancies are someone doing voluntarily having casual sex and you end up pregnant. And now we're going to make a whole campaign about, well, let's get rid of it. And this is something to be celebrated. That's ridiculous. That's number one. And the number two thing that the Kamala campaign was built around was exactly what the Biden-Harris administration was doing, is let's just open our borders and allow people to come in as freely as they wish. I'll probably talk about this tomorrow, the whole immigration issue, because I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the news since yesterday, that as soon as Trump got sworn in yesterday at 12 in the afternoon, they shut down that app, that CBP app that was allowing people to basically have an appointment and basically get fast tracked to legal status in America. So therefore, you technically couldn't call them illegal immigrants because they weren't illegal. They had legal status, whatever you want to say that means. You can Google it. But getting legal status, so they're technically not illegal. Now they're coming into the country, and we were allowing people to come in so quickly. And I was not a fan of this either. The reason I wasn't a fan of this is because if you are not enforcing your border policies and border rules, then you just have so many people coming in that it alters the fabric of what the country is. And this is why no other country in the world allows anything like that. There's no other country in the world where they were allowing so many people in so quickly and you get legal status that fast. No other country in the world does this. And I'm going to talk about this because I've already done some research on this and I got some things I want to say about it. So these are the two things the Harris campaign was built on. Let's just bring as many people as possible into America. It was actually a long-term play to build up the Democratic voter base. That's really what it was about. It's not because Kamala just loves immigrants. That's not what it was. And the other thing is, let's just kill the babies. All right. And again, how are you going to build a whole campaign around this? I understand that these are things that you believe. Let's just say that that's what Kamala believes, or Joe Biden, or anybody else. Let's say you believe in those things. Those of you who are listening to me right now, let's say you believe in that. You believe in immigration. Maybe you're an immigrant yourself. Maybe you got immigrants in your family. Maybe you're married to an immigrant and you believe in immigration. Fine. And you believe in, I want a woman to be able to take out her baby that she voluntarily created. Let's say you believe in both of those. That doesn't make you crazy. What is crazy, though, is that if you get in front of the country and the country asks you, why should we vote for you? And these are the top two things you can come up with. That's crazy. That's why I would have chose Trump over Kamala. Just on that alone. I don't even need to know what Trump's standing on. Like, if he ain't standing on that, then I'm paying attention to him by default. You can't build a whole campaign around that. Those two things. That's kind of crazy. Let's just bring in as many people as possible from outside of our country and bring them into the country. Why? Again, what's the reason for it? Has Biden or Harris ever explained why we need to do this aside from, hey, we're just a country of immigrants. We're a melting pot. That's all they can come. They're going to let people in. Why is no other country in the world letting people in? No, there's no other country in the world you can go to like this and just walk in and get legal status. Not one. You can't name one. Not one. All the other ones require a whole lot of stuff that most people ain't got. Most of the people we're allowing in here cannot go to these other countries and get in within a month because they don't have the resources that those countries require. And again, I've done research on this. I'll be talking about that tomorrow in my live that will be starting at 8 a.m. Eastern, same place. And with Trump, his whole thing was make America great again. Now, again, he's selling to Americans. Let's make America great again. Whatever you think great means, and whatever time frame you believe he is referring back to when he says again, he's referring to some time in the past, is better than just saying, well, let's just bring people in here and let's just change the fabric of what America is and let's let women get rid of their babies. A lot of people are trying to have kids, not get rid of them. So this is ridiculous. And then his whole thing is America first. He said that a lot during his first term, which is all these other countries are benefiting from us and we're not benefiting from them, and the deals are not fair. Everything that he said, his whole thing, if you listen to his inauguration speech yesterday, if you did not, you should. It's about 30 minutes long. You can listen to it, wrote in a short period of time. Everything that he was talking about then, 2016, 2020, and again in 2024, and now today, was all about how do we make sure that America is in the pole position and we are benefiting the most from who we are, what we have, and what we offer to the rest of the world. How do we benefit the most as Americans as opposed to all these other things that have nothing to do with helping everyday Americans? Let's say you already have kids. You already got a family. You're not even in the process of trying to have kids again. And if you did, you would keep the kid. And at the same time, you're not trying to bring more people who are from outside of this country into the country. Why would you have any connection to anything that Kamala was talking about? She didn't really have much to offer to the everyday person who's not concerned with the abortion thing. And why, again, who in America wants to bring in more people from outside the country, aside from maybe a business owner who wants some cheap labor? What about the rest of us? She didn't have anything. So if I had to pick between the two, again, by deductive reasoning, what does Kamala offer? And of course, we know in America with this binary system, there are a whole bunch of people who are going to vote Democrat just because they always voted Democrat, or people who want to vote for a brown person. We're not even going to call Kamala black. I already did a whole conversation on that. You can find it on my YouTube. A brown person just because you want to vote for the brown person, or vote against Trump because you've been indoctrinated that Trump's a terrible person and you got to vote against him. That's pretty much what the vote came to. Kamala's actual points and the reasons logically why she should be voted for were the worst that I've heard from any candidate in the time that I've been eligible to vote. Let's just say the last 25 years. Out of all the candidates we've seen, Gore, W. Bush, John Kerry, Obama, McCain, Romney, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Kamala, her reasons, logical reasons to vote for me were the worst that I've seen from any of those candidates. Does anybody want to question that point? Was there anybody worse than her in the last 25 years? I just named everybody of the people who made it to the final 2 spots. Was there anybody worse than her in terms of her logical reasons to vote for me? Not the emotional reasons, the logical reasons. Was there anybody worse? Nobody even comes close. Like, her whole thing was just, and then people say, well, she only had a short period of time. But then at the same time, they turn around and say, well, she got all these votes in a short period of time. Well, there are only 2 choices. So that doesn't really mean anything that she got votes. There were only 2 options. Of course, you want to get votes. A ham sandwich would have got votes against Donald Trump. All I had to say is, hey, I'm not Donald Trump. Vote for me. Would have got 30 million votes. Just because not Donald Trump. So it doesn't mean anything. So next time you hear somebody throw that nonsense out there, let them know. So I'm supposed to be talking about America here. So every country has its flaws. America has flaws. Are there flaws in America? Yes, there are. I talked about this yesterday, that there are trade-offs to everything. There is no perfect outcome. No matter what Donald Trump does here in office, somebody's going to be pissed off about it. Anything he does, somebody's going to be pissed off, because you cannot please 330 million people at the same time. All right, that's impossible. All right, ham sandwich, yeah, that's a saying. It's an old saying, a ham sandwich. So anything Donald Trump does is going to be pushed back. Why? Because, again, you cannot please 330 million people with anything that you do. Somebody's going to be pissed off. Somebody's not going to get what they want. Somebody's going to have a problem with it. All right, so it has flaws, just like every person, place, or thing. America also has flaws, but there isn't a better place in existence. Because if there was a better country in existence, then people would be trying to get into that country and leaving this one. Notice that even the people who bitch and complain about the United States of America are not leaving the United States of America. Nobody's leaving. Any of you know anyone who has voluntarily left America and went and moved to another country? If you do know somebody, you can name them. You know their name. You know exactly where they went, and the reasons for doing so. And for every one person any of you could possibly name, you can name 1,000 who bitch about the country but don't leave. Nobody's leaving America, no matter how much you can complain about it, no matter how much you don't like certain things going on. Nobody is leaving. Why? Because you don't have a better option. You don't have a better option. All right. So great does not mean perfect. What makes America great is, again, look at the reality of the situation. Who do you see coming in and who do you see leaving? We got many more people trying to get in than we got people trying to leave. Period. All right. That's the absolute proof. And you want to really believe, what find out what someone really believes. Don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. And any American, even the half of America who's bitching about Donald Trump and complaining and just trying to find anything to bitch about Donald Trump about, and they're going to do this for the next 4 years, even those people, none of them's leaving the United States. Notice that? None of them's leaving. Even though they're talking so terrible about, oh, America's so terrible, I can't believe we voted for this, or y'all voted for. Despite all of that, nobody's leaving. So what does that tell you about what people really believe as opposed to what they said? Moving on to the next point. Anyone can find flaws if you look hard enough in any type of system, any government system, person, politics, norms, conflicts, history, etc. Does America have those? Yes, it does. Are there flawed people? Yes. Are there flawed systems? Yes. Is the government efficient and effective in most of what it does? No. And even with Donald Trump running it, I think he'll make it better. Is he going to completely fix it? No, he's not, because the system's too big and he doesn't have enough time. And there's a bunch of other people in there who are going to be fighting against him making the changes that he wants to make. And does America have some stains in its history? Yes. We all know this is true. All of that said, again, where is better, and why isn't everyone going to those places instead of everybody trying to come here? Everyone's trying to come here to the United States. There are a bunch of people. Some of you probably know some people. How many of you know some people who are living outside the United States right now? They want to come here, but they can't because they can't get the paperwork. They've been trying to get the paperwork. They haven't gotten it yet. Put yes if you know anyone who's in that situation. They're trying to get a visa, but they can't get one yet. They're trying to win the lottery to get the paperwork so that they can come to America. They haven't won the lottery yet, and they've been trying for months or maybe even years to get the documentation that would allow them to come to America, and they can't get here yet. Many of you probably know people in this situation. Some of you maybe have been a person in this situation, or you've known someone who was in this situation. Everybody's trying to get here. Nobody is trying to leave. So again, this is proof that America is great. How do you have a place that everybody's trying to get in, nobody's trying to leave? It's like, what if you sold a product, right? What if you sold a product, you had a membership, and you never lost any members? Once somebody joined, they just kept paying for their membership, and you got more and more people trying to get the membership. You can't even sell all the people who want to buy because you ain't got enough to sell, and nobody's canceling their membership. Or your business will just keep making money hand over fist because nobody's leaving. You don't have any churn. Any of you knows anything about recurring revenue products, you know the biggest challenge is the churn. How long do people stay in the product before they quit? How long do people keep their membership to the gym before they stop coming? Keep their membership to your coaching program or your whatever it is that you have before they quit? That's the biggest challenge. America, nobody's quitting. Nobody is quitting. Everybody gets in and everybody stays in. America's retention. Any of you, again, understand the language that I'm using here. And for a gym, you have every month you pay the membership. That's called retention. And let's say the gym's average retention is 6 months. Joins the gym and stays a member for 6 months before they cancel and they stop paying or the payments don't go through anymore. That's their average retention of 6 months. The average retention in the United States of America is forever. Our average retention is forever. Maybe it's a little bit less than forever because you do have a handful of people who leave. But most people, once they get here or if they're born here, they never leave. The average retention in America is whatever the average lifespan is. Let's just say it's 80 years. Imagine if you had a product that every customer stayed for 80 years. All right, that's America. So how can you say America is not great? How can you say that? You can't. With a straight face, you can't say America not great when the average person stays here for the entirety of their lifetime or for the entirety of the time through which they get here. I saw the videos on social media yesterday. I don't know if y'all saw these. At the southern border, there are some people, who knows what country they came from, but they're at the southern border. They had an appointment through that CBP app. And this is the app that people use to get this fast track path to citizenship or legal status, fast track to legal status. And as soon as Trump got sworn in yesterday at 12 in the afternoon, the app stopped working. That's what happened. So the app stops working. So these people are stuck at the border and they no longer have their appointment to get the legal status. And they're sitting there, they're like distraught. They're crying and in tears because they aren't sure they'll get a chance to get into the country. And if you saw Trump's inauguration speech yesterday, he made it clear. Closing the border. We are reinstating the stay in Mexico order or whatever that the language is they use for that and keeping people over there. We're getting rid of this catch and release thing. So we're not just letting people come in and stay here. We're closing the border. We're going to enforce our actual laws. And if you're not in, you ain't getting in. That generally is what he's saying. I'm not saying people couldn't get in somehow, some way, but the amount of people that are being let in is being constricted. That's what he said that in his speech yesterday. And we know proof that that's exactly what he's doing. Now, why is all this important? This is all important because, again, everybody's trying to get in. Nobody's trying to leave. Everybody's trying to get in. Nobody's trying to leave. Despite the fact that Donald Trump's president, you still got thousands of people trying to get in. All right. So is it bad? That's greatness. That's one of the reasons why America is great. So when I use great as a relative term here, America already is this in the first place. It's indisputable. Again, look at the actions will speak a whole lot louder than words. Moving on. Another reason why America is great is that we have freedom here. This is why people come here. People come to America for freedom. Freedom and one other thing that I'll get to in a moment. Definition of freedom, folks, is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Let me say that again. Freedom is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. America is as they say, the land of the free, home of the brave. The foundation what America was built on is freedom. One of the main reasons America became America is because of religious freedom. People want the freedom to practice whatever religion they wanted, however that they want it. And in America, you pretty much have that. You could be anti-religion if you want to be. You could be whatever religion you are. There are a bunch of other people who will celebrate it. And generally, your religion is respected. Of course, you'll have some people who don't like you or haters or people who are negative towards a certain religion and bigoted and whatever. And guess what? They're free too. They are free as well. They are free to dislike you because of the religion you practice. People are free to dislike you because of your color. They are free to dislike you because of your age or your background or who you're a fan of. They're free to feel however they want to feel about you. They can even verbally express it. All of this is protected by the First Amendment, and is the reason why it's the First Amendment, the right to free speech. That's why people come here to America. They just want the freedom to be whoever they want to be. And in America, you have the freedom to be whoever you want to be, even if you want to be something that is, again, to other people, ridiculous. Like, if you're a boy, you decide you're a girl, you have the freedom to do that if you want to believe it. Now, other people have the right and the freedom to let you know that what you're doing is crazy and something is wrong with you, and they don't believe you. They have a right to that as well. And that's the freedom that we have here in the United States of America. You can do damn near anything that you want to do, as long as it's within the confines of the law. That's why people come here. And it's the foundation of the country. We offer more freedoms here in the United States than anywhere else in the world offers. That's why people want to come here the most. You can bash the government living here. I don't know any of you is from other countries. You cannot bash the government in other countries. Other countries, you can't just bash the government, especially not out loud, not on the internet. They're going to find you. They're going to come. You're going to get a knock on your door. You'll be in the middle of a live stream bashing the government. You're going to get a knock on the door like, no, you can't do that here. And if you're not from there, they might kick you out. If you are from there, they might put you in jail or beat your ass. If you're not from there, they're kicking you out. You can't stay here. You can't come bash the government. You're a visitor. Are you crazy? But in America, you can do that. In America, you have the freedom to do this. You can bash the government. You can argue against the rules. You can be a part of an offer. You can offer what people call hateful commentary or hate speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. I don't recognize that as a real thing. People are allowed to hate you. All right, hate speech is allowed. So it's not hate speech like as if it's some negative thing. People are allowed to hate if they want to hate. Hate is protected by the First Amendment. You can offer nasty commentary about other groups if you want to, about people's lifestyles, their race, their religion, their political affiliations. All of that is open and legally protected here in the United States of America. That's one of the reasons why this country is great. Again, any of you from another country, ask yourself, could you go to another country and just do those things and get away with it? The answer is hell no. Moving on. Next, we're talking about America is great right now. People may not like you for it, and maybe some places, such as private businesses, can kick you out. So maybe if you work at a certain company and they say, hey, you don't recognize your coworkers' pronouns, we're going to fire you. So in the private business, yes, but as a citizen, period, out in the open, you can think and say whatever you want for the most part. Okay. You have the freedom to do it, even if people don't like it. And again, you know very well this is not the case where you come from. Any of you who is from another country, you know this is not the case. Any of you know people who live in another country, this is not the case. All right, the freedom is not there. And I'm talking about this a lot because this is the biggest piece of what makes America America. Other places in the world, you say the wrong thing about the wrong person or the wrong group, or you represent the wrong idea, you can get jailed, you can get beaten, you can get killed for doing these things. America offers the freedom for you to do and say what you want with the widest range of options of saying what you want, feeling what you want, thinking what you want, and representing what you want. Even if other people are in opposition to you and dislike you and may trash and attack you for it, again, they have the freedom to do that. We all have the freedom to be who we want to be and do what we want to do here in the United States of America. Again, name another country in which you have this level of freedom, this range of freedoms. There isn't another one. That's why everybody's trying to come here. Next one is opportunity. Opportunity. Yeah, in those countries, Crespo, you definitely better be careful what you say. Opportunity. Why America is great right now. This is the land of opportunity. People come here because they want the opportunity. People who come here, you might be a mom, you come over here and you leave your husband and kids back in the country where you came from because they didn't all get the paperwork, but you got the paperwork. You come over here and you work for 3, 4, 5 years by yourself, sending money back home, and hopefully get to the point where you can bring everybody else back over. You sacrifice 3 years of your own life to set your family up for a better situation. Why? Because America offers that opportunity, or a dad may do the exact same thing. America offers that opportunity, or you may come over here by yourself, leave the rest of your family and your extended family behind in your country so you can create the opportunity and maybe start bringing everybody else over. Opportunity is defined as a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. A set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. What America offers as opportunity is a circumstance that makes it possible for you to take care of your family at a high level of abundance, affluence, whatever it is you want to call it. If you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to put in the time, and you bring some skills to the table. In other countries in the world, again, Those of you who have never been anywhere, you Americans who've never been anywhere except the internet, you don't understand this. Those of you who have been somewhere or you are from somewhere outside of this country, you understand. There are countries in the world where if you are born into the lower class, there is nothing you can do to get into the middle or upper class. You are stuck in the lower class. Why? Because that's where your family is from. You're stuck there. And if there are any people who are able to get out of the lower class and maybe move into the middle class, they are the exceptions. They are not the rule. They are the exceptions that prove the rule. If you're born in the middle class, you're stuck in the middle class. You're born in the upper class, even if you screw up a ton, you pretty much stay in the upper class. Why? Because they have these caste systems in other countries where you have no opportunity to move up. In America, you got the opportunity to move up. In America, you could be born poor and retire and die wealthy and rich. Other countries do not have this level of what we call upward mobility. You don't have that in other countries. Only here. Any of you who's listening to me right now, whatever status you have, whatever class you consider yourself to be a part of, lower class, middle class, upper class, you can change radically over the next 5, 10, 20 years and change the entire trajectory of your bloodline based on your behaviors. Other countries do not, regardless of how hard you work, how good of a person you are, what you invent, create, bring to the marketplace, you're still going to be stuck in the same spot. Why? Because you were born there, and that's what it is. The opportunity is not there to advance yourself the same way it is here in the United States. And this is one of the few places where, again, as I said, you could be born unconnected and you're not a somebody and become a somebody within one lifespan without having to compromise yourself to do that. Right? You don't have to compromise yourself to do it in the United States of America. All you got to do is show up and bring some value to the marketplace. Of course, there's some skill and some strategy that goes into it, but the opportunity is there. And everybody here understands that, which is why even when people get on the internet and bitch about quote unquote billionaires and what they're doing and what they have compared to what everybody else has, what I tell people is if you really think the billionaires have all these advantages, well, you might as well work to become one. In the United States, you got the opportunity. It's not guaranteed you'll make it. Most people won't, but you have the opportunity. In other countries, you don't have the opportunity to get to the top of the mountain, regardless of what you do. Especially if you came here and especially if you go there and you're not from there, they're not going to let you do that. In America, you can do it. Look at how many people, are known as financially well off in America, and they're not even from here. Whether they weren't born here personally or their parents or grandparents were not from here. Let's go 2 generations back. How many people do we know of who they or 2 generations up were not born in America, but they are publicly noted for having made a lot of money? There's a bunch of them who are going to be working with Donald Trump and his administration. And people are talking about them. Oh, look at these billionaires who are going to have all this money and they're going to do everything just for themselves. But is anybody asking themselves how these people get to this position? Nobody ever asked that, right? Y'all notice that? Nobody asked that question. Nobody asked the question and says, okay, well, look at Elon Musk and he's going to do whatever to support Donald Trump. And Elon Musk is a billionaire and Donald Trump's a billionaire. So that means they're only going to do things to support the billionaires. This is what everybody's saying, right? Why is nobody asking the question, how did Elon Musk become a billionaire? I don't see anybody asking that question. Nobody asked the question, how did Donald Trump become a billionaire? Nobody asked how did Vivek Ramaswamy or whatever other billionaires allegedly that Donald Trump's going to be working with and how they're only going to help each other. This is what they're all saying. I don't see anybody asking the question, how did they become billionaires? That's the question you should be asking, not what are they going to do in this administration and how it's going to hurt you and why they're bad people. See, that's the complainers frame, and complainers are losers. And I don't like complainers. There's 3 groups of people I detest the most. One is feminine energy men. Second is moralizers. And the third are complainers, in that order. So this complaining thing of, oh, well, these people got this and they're doing this for themselves. Okay, how'd they get there? You should be looking at them and asking yourself, how can you borrow from their process and maybe use some of it for yourself? Why not? Again, it's the land of opportunity. You got the freedom to do it. So the biggest thing that many people want in life, at least those who are plugged into my philosophy, and if you're new here, you stay plugged in, you will understand my philosophy, is the opportunity. Most people just want an opportunity. As long as I have an opportunity to do something, if you have some game, then you can prove yourself. So a chance to be who you want to be. Most people want to be seen. They want to get heard. They want to get known. If you're ambitious, you want to expose. America is the place to do it, again, which is why nobody ever leaves here. I used to have athletes, and back in the days, and most of you didn't know me at this time, I used to make content that was targeted for basketball players to help them get better. I would hear from basketball players who were international, who lived outside of America all the time. And the biggest thing many of them were looking for, 98% of the time, they were trying to figure out how they could get the opportunity to come to America and play basketball, because they would say things like, hey, the country I live in, basketball is just not that big. Or where I live, basketball doesn't really get noticed. And no matter, even if I'm really good, this is the player talking, I'm not going to get recognized because basketball is just not a thing that gets recognized here. But Dre, if I can find a way to come to America and play high school ball, or come to America and play in college, I can show my game against the other players where it's at. And that might get me a chance. And they were right. The challenge is it's hard to get into America. It's just hard to get over here. Why is it hard to get over here? Because everybody's trying to come here. That's the point. What made having the opportunity to come to America valuable is the fact that not everybody gets it. So when Biden and Harris just started lowering the standards for getting into the country and making it easy for anyone to just come in here and get legal status, several things happened. First of all, the value of being able to come here got diminished. Secondly, we got a flood of people trying to come over here. Third, we were not vetting the people who are coming into our country. Again, there's no other country proper vetting. America was doing. Then the people who maybe could bring some value to us, let's say an immigrant who could actually bring value to America, they're getting lost in the shuffle because we're just letting anybody in. So the value of the whole thing of moving over here coming here has been diminished over the last 4 years. But again, I told you tomorrow I'm gonna do a whole live just on this subject alone. But people just want the opportunity. And that's why America is what it is. That's why America is great. And the last point that I'll make here is that America is making gradual improvements. And again, this is the reason why nobody leaves. As much as you may think America is not that great, and you may complain about it or have a problem with America or with who's in charge or the system or your taxes or whatever you want to say negatively about America. And I can come up with a list of negative things to say about America if you ask me. America is always gradually improving. I would guess that most of you look back on the last 10 years of your life, your situation is better now than it was 10 years ago as a whole. Why? Because America offers the opportunity for upward mobility and gradual improvement, or very quick improvement if you want to. In the macro, America is always getting better. Now, again, there may be things that you don't or won't like, politicians who you disagree with, situations that don't go the way you want them to go. Look at the overall big picture. America is continually getting better. It is gradually improving. It gradually rights its wrongs, and it makes things better. It has remained a land of opportunity and freedom over the last, how long has America been a land of opportunity and freedom? Immigration has been going on for 100 years. All this time, people keep still trying to come here, as evidenced by the fact that America is still the place that everyone wants to enter and nobody wants to leave. Again, we can have all back and forth discussion all day about things that you think are good or bad about the United States, but let's just look at the reality of how people actually behave, not how they talk, but how they behave, which is everybody's trying to get in, nobody's trying to get out, all right, period. And again, tomorrow I'm going to do a whole talk on the immigration conversation. But now that I got through these points, let me open the floor up for some discussion. If you have a question or comment on what I'm talking about here, go ahead and put it in the comments. TikTok, I'm going to come to TikTok comments last. So let me go through over here. NPR on YouTube laughed at that ham sandwich phrase that I used. Old saying that ham sandwich is kind of like, doesn't matter what it is, it'll work. I was saying was a ham sandwich would have got 60 million votes going against Donald Trump. Million people who so much detest Donald Trump, they would have voted for anything other than him. But a number of votes that Kamala got, or that Joe Biden got, or even that Hillary Clinton got, all had to be weighed they got to be looked at with a grain of sand, taken with a grain of sand, and weighed against the fact that they all got votes simply because they were going against a guy that a bunch of people have been mobilized to dislike, which had nothing to do with them personally. Who actually liked Hillary Clinton? Who liked Joe Biden? Who liked Kamala Harris? I don't think nearly as many people as actually voted for them. O-Dog said other countries need to start taking care of their people. If their people keep wanting to come here, might as well annex to other countries. The shit needs to stop. There are people who are pushing that idea, and specifically the countries to our north and to our southern borders, that we take them all and just make all of that part of America. There's an argument for that. Is it actually going to happen? I don't know, but there is an argument for it. So I understand what you're saying. I understand your position on that. Over on Instagram, someone said, is mass deportation even possible? Is it possible? Yes. Is it going to happen? The thing is, it takes a high level of resources in order to mass deport people. First of all, you got to go find them. Secondly, well, first of all, you got to get the people in place. You need the people to actually do it. Then you got to go find them. Then you got to have the resources to actually move them from wherever you catch them to where they got to go. And then you got to kick them out. So a lot of things that have to happen. I think the Trump administration is going to try. Now, are they going to be able to get everybody out? Of course not. I think they're going to try. They're going to do a lot more than the Biden administration did when it comes to enforcing our immigration laws. That I guarantee you. And we already see that. So Mitzi Galvez, good morning. I am Panda King on Instagram said, why did Donald Trump during the 2020 why did Donald Trump during the 2020 election exactly what you're saying? Or why didn't he what? You missed the word there. Panda said, I don't think it means anything. I think it's a business slogan. He's a businessman and it's stuck. Well, it does mean something, and it's both. So it's not either or, it's both. Panda said, I'm not Democrat or Republican. I think both these parties have self agendas. I think it's pretty clear. Yes, of course they have agenda. Every human being has an agenda. Panda said, you think, I don't know what you're referring to there. Do you believe the way he speaks creates unity, or do you believe in the way he speaks causes fear or curiosity about what you think about the things he says? Well, it's a false binary, what you just asked me there. I am Panda. So over on Instagram, I am Panda King said, do you think the way that Donald Trump speaks creates unity or it creates fear? I think it creates neither one. I think he says what he says. He talks how he talks. He's been talking the same way for 40 years. And people who don't like him have found a way to weaponize his words against him and make it seem like he's a bad guy. That what they do is they emotionally engage people by saying, look, Donald Trump said this, so you should be afraid of it and you should think that it's negative. And a lot of people bought into that because if you're trying to sell people on something, you get them emotional, then the logical centers of their brain stop working. So that's what happened with Donald Trump. And the people who can look at him more, people who are fans of his, look at what he says and they say it creates unity. And then people who are in between and can look at things logically and objectively, and I put myself in that group, can look at it and I can explain to you exactly what's happening. So your question here is actually a fallacious question because you're only giving me two options. There are many more options. I am Panda, so I understand your point, but you can pull yourself up. You can pull them up yourself when Biden won. Pull what up? I don't know what you're referring to. So when y'all leave comments, understand I'm reading your comments after you're responding to what I said, so I need context. Crespo said you've been to, I don't know if I can say all these countries, but yes, they have caste systems. Exactly. All these countries have caste systems, and wherever you're born, you're stuck. That's what it is. Darian said Donald Trump used real estate. Yes, I know he used real estate, but I'm saying even more specifically, like, yeah, we know Elon Musk used technology, but I'm saying more specifically, you want to find out how they did it so that you could possibly use it maybe. All right, so TikTok, I'm over here in the comments. You got something, go ahead and post it. Kyle L got the #1 gifter badge, said, wow, you seem intelligent. Well, thank you. I hope I seem intelligent. I appreciate it. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, by the way. So if you like what you're hearing here today, be here tomorrow. Star Eyes said, it has never been great. You're delusional. Do you live in America? Star Eyes 8U. So I got questions for you. Number 1, do you live in America? Number 2, how long have you lived in America? And number 3, if you think America is not great, what other option do you see that is more great than America? And then number 4, why are you still here? Those are my 4 questions for you. Star Eyes, please answer if you're still here. Poop Door Gang said, prior to 2016, when specifically was America great? 2015. I mean, what are you saying? I just explained to you. I just laid out. I just spent 40 minutes explaining to you all how America has been great. 2013, 2012, 2011, 2010, every year. It's always been great. When was America not great? That's my question to you. It's been great the whole time. And again, I asked you the same questions I asked the other person. If America is not great, number 1, do you live here? Number 2, how long have you lived here? Number 3, where is it better? And number 4, why are you not there? If you really think America is not great, why are you still here? Because that would make you that puts you in your mindset is that of a loser. You think the situation you're in is not a great situation, yet you won't change it. What does that say about you? So anybody who thinks America is not great, again, I want the same four questions to everybody. Number 1, how old are you? Number 2, how long have you been here? Number 3, where is it better? And number 4, why are you not in the place that's better? Why are you still here? If you think the situation is not good, but you won't change it, what does that say about you? Let's see. Essay, he rescinded in order to help Black Americans with educational growth, right? No, false question. I saw the executive orders, but the thing is, you got to be careful with the government. S. Dot here, who put this comment. You got to be careful with things that come from the government, because they will title something one way, but you have to actually read the details of the orders or the bills to find out what he actually rescinded and what those, and or what. If you don't have all that context, then all you see is the headline. You say, oh, well, he rescinded this thing that's supposed to help Black Americans with education. No, that's not exactly what happened. So you have the out of context headline, but you don't have the details. So I get what you're saying, but it's actually incorrect. And further, just taking it further than that, S. Dot, the education of Black Americans is not the responsibility of the president. So if you want Black people to be educated, then let's just say you want to be educated. That's your responsibility. If you have kids that you're the parent, you're responsible. It's not the president. And the president couldn't stop your kids from being educated if you want them to be educated. Or if you want yourself to be educated, the president can't stop you going further. Even if what you said was true, it's not. But if it was, then I just answered it. Next Pixie said, poop door gang. I read the comments after I'm done speaking. I said that very clearly at the beginning of my live. So I do read the comments. Gen X said, because people do not think about that, they also don't move out of the country after they promise. Well, nobody was actually going to move out of the country. It's just people just talking shit. It's the internet. Tara Sullivan said, DT is opening gates of hell. If you voted for a devil, DT is going to harm you. If you are not, how is he going to harm me? Tell me how DT is going to harm us. Kevin said, can I get one of those pardons Joe handed out for fear of the crime I'm committing? Yeah, you got to get it from Trump now. Crespo said, do you think America is to send back all flag burners? Yes. If you come here to America as a visitor and you disrespect the country, or you are not adding value, or you are committing crime, or you're doing anything you ain't supposed to do, you should be kicked out. Yes, that should be the rule. That's the rule everywhere else. If I go to, let's name a country, say a country I think I can get away with saying. Let's say I go to Brazil. I'm not Brazilian. I don't have Brazilian citizenship. Wasn't born there. But let's say I get quote unquote legal status in Brazil, but I'm committing crimes and I'm disrespecting the land and I'm disrespecting the flag and I'm talking out against the government. They will come round me up. They will find me at my house, pull me out of my bed in the middle of the night, and they will put me on a plane back to America. They say, you can't stay here anymore. You are banned from this country. Don't come back. Every other country in the world, that's what they do. If you're a visitor and you disrespect the country, they kick you out and they ban you from coming back. Only in America do we allow people to stay. Kira says, some people can't afford to move out the country. Oh, yeah, sounds good. Sounds like a convenient excuse. You can't afford to move out of the country. How much? You got a cell phone? You got an iPhone? How much it costs? Any of you listening to this got a smartphone? Your smartphone is $1,000 device. It's a $1,000 device. All right, name a country you couldn't get a plane ticket to for less than $1,000. Name one. So miss me with the people can't afford to move out of the country. Sounds good, but not true. Bo said they hope the things that will affect them negatively will fail. Such as, Bo, give me some examples. What things are going to affect you negatively? Angelina got the #2 gifter badge. Congrats. Indiana Homegirls, good to see you. Got the gifter badge. Soy Queen said, so they so dumb they made it obvious they thought we stupid. I don't know who you're talking about. Carla, Indiana, good morning. Rich 7756, thank you. Sherry said, Trump isn't powerful enough to make anything happen. Only God has that power, and Trump isn't God. Well, I get the direction of what you're saying here, Sherry, but Trump does have the power to make some things happen. The president does have the power to make some things happen. I get what you're saying, but you also get what I'm saying. You get the point. He can make some things happen. He already started making things happen. He just blocked a whole bunch of people who thought they were going to get into this country from getting in. All right. You want to call that power? That's power. Deanna, good morning. America first. That's what Trump said. Kendall Lee said, get your money, my guy. Hope it's worth your peace. Now, what exactly does that mean? I'm not getting paid to do this live stream, so I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see. I'm reading comments on TikTok right now. I'm here for the memes. Said, it's not great or perfect. Or what is it? I'm here for the memes. What is it? If it's not great, it's not perfect. What is it? What's your description? And what's your explanation for that description? Crespo said, I agree. Send the flag burners back. The complainers are the people who doesn't work, just want a free handout. Well, America's been giving it away. So I get it. I get why people come for the free handouts, because they believe they're going to get it. They've been getting it. The last 4 years, they've been getting free handouts. If you're going to be poor, it's better to be poor in America than be poor in some other country. So I get it. Carla said, great does not mean perfect. Exactly. It doesn't mean perfect. It means it is great. And again, compare it to your alternatives. What are your alternatives? If something has to be great, America is the greatest country in the world. Why? Again, nobody's going anywhere else. Deanna said, common sense, Democrats have none. I think some of them do. I think some of them don't. I think there are people who, they're not even, I think a lot of people who say the negative stuff about Trump, they're not really Democrats. There are people who do it as part of their hustle. It's their business to say negative stuff about Trump that seem nonsensical. But the everyday person who is saying negative things about Trump is not even that they're Democrats. They have been sold the negative talking points and they bought into it. ZKJC, what about 2020? What you're referring to? Beth said, well, it'd be great when you can't use TikTok next month. Yes, because I got Instagram, LinkedIn, Rumble, X, YouTube, and what's the other one? Facebook. I'm live in 6 different places right now, Beth. So if TikTok goes away, as it did 2 days ago for about a day, I was still doing live streams and still posting content on the other 6 platforms. So yes, it will be great. TikTok does not make America great. TikTok's not even owned by an American company. So, I mean, I get the sarcasm angle of your point, but it's a flawed question. Carla says she had less than 2% of the vote. You talking about that 2020? Yeah, she sucked in 2020, which is why had she had to go through a full primary, she wouldn't have won. So that's why I don't think we'll see her again in 2028. Madison said, you assume it's voluntary. What are you referring to, Madison? Nuggy said, there's the morning after pill. Right. Yes, there's the morning after pill. Carla said, thank you, 99%. Let's see. I'm reading comments on TikTok right now. If you got a comment or a comment somewhere, go ahead and post it. Crespo, appreciate you. Let's see here. I see y'all engaging back and forth with each other here. I'm trying to find a comment. Somebody's talking to me. China, good morning. Good to see you. Chief said for every 1 out of 10,000, for every 1 out, 10,000 come in. That's correct. And probably more than that. Madison said people can't afford to leave. You can afford to leave. Again, your smartphone alone is a $1,000 device. There is no country that you couldn't fly to for less than $1,000 right now. So you can leave. So no, it's not that people can't afford to leave. That's a convenient excuse. It's a good sounding excuse to people who wouldn't push back on that nonsense. If you really thought America was terrible, you could save up your money and you can leave. Nobody's leaving because nobody thinks America's bad. If you really thought America was bad and you think there's a better option, you would go to the better option. Nobody thinks there's a better option. That's why people don't leave. It just sounds good to say America's terrible because you're all emotionalized about Trump and it gets a lot of engagement and attention. And listen, I'm giving you engagement right now by responding to your comment. This is why people say stuff like that, not because you truly believe it. Renata said, I was okay with the orange guy, but his plan for child support is diabolical. What's the plan, Renata? What's his plan for child support? And before you even tell me what the answer is, his plan for child support, first of all, the president has nothing to do with the support of your child. Any of you who has kids, you are responsible for the support of your child as a parent. So as a mother or as a father. And whatever your relationship is with the mother or the father, if y'all are not together in a relationship actively right now, that's the responsibility of the adults to figure that out. The president can't really intervene if y'all don't let the president intervene. So that's what, even before I even hear what you have to say about whatever his plan is for child support, because I haven't heard about that. That's my response to just that comment directionally. What does the president have to do with supporting your kids? Carlos said, the same people say America is not great are the same people saying let everyone in. Yes, they are, which doesn't really make any sense. And what's the benefit of letting people in? Unless you're a business owner who's about to hire a bunch of cheap labor, that could be one benefit. And what's the other benefit? I don't know what the other benefit is. That's the only thing I can see for anyone living in America to let a whole bunch of people come into our country. What do you get out of it? Other than, it's going to make conservatives mad. It's going to make Donald Trump mad to let people in. If that's your reasoning for doing things, that's very juvenile. We got to move past that. And again, for the Democrats, I understand the value of it because now they're just building their voter base. Alex says, those who leave never renounce citizenship either. LOL. Good point. Yeah, people leave, but then they stay citizens of America. So they leave, they go somewhere else, but then they keep their citizenship so they can always come back. Granada said, didn't Mexico help put out the LA fires? I think some firefighters from there did come and help out, but are they responsible? I would say no. I would say no. It's a good headline that they threw that out there, but no. The way they shut this app down is proof that we are not free. Well, I believe the way they shut the app down is censorship by the American government, but that was instituted by Joe Biden, not by Donald Trump. So those who don't know the timeline of what happened, because a lot of people keep saying this, that Donald Trump, what happened in 2020 is Donald Trump threw out this concept of maybe shutting down TikTok. He threw that out in 2020. Then when Joe Biden became president in 2021, the executive order that Donald Trump put in place to try to get TikTok investigated, Joe Biden canceled that. He canceled that executive order. Then years went by, 2021, 22, 23 went by, nothing happened. In 2024, Joe Biden signed a bill into law that led to the shutdown that happened the other day. He signed a bill into law that gave TikTok 9 months to do something or get shut down. And it was on Sunday that deadline hit. That was a bill, that was a law signed by Joe Biden, not by Donald Trump, that instituted the shutdown of TikTok. Now, Donald Trump seems to be kind of going along with the concept. What Donald Trump said yesterday when he was signing stuff in the Oval Office, he was being interviewed, something that Joe Biden didn't do for 4 years. Donald Trump said TikTok is valuable as long as they have access to the United States. So we believe it's very valuable. So they should sell to someone where the United States has more control of it. So he is speaking in a similar tone to Joe Biden, but he is not responsible for the shutdown. That was a law signed by Joe Biden, not by Donald Trump. So any of you hear people on the internet saying, well, Donald Trump's the reason the shutdown happened on TikTok. No, he's not. Joe Biden signed that law in March of 2024. So continuing reading the comments here. If you folks are listening to Dre every day, you would know he's not MAGA. Yeah, technically, I am not MAGA. But if I had to pick between MAGA and Kamala Harris, I pick MAGA. But I have no political affiliation. I just try to look at things logically and objectively and tell you what I understand. And usually when I do that, people listen to me and they say, well, you sound like a conservative or a Trump supporter or a Republican or MAGA. So what's interesting to me is that when you're being logical and objective, people assume you're a conservative. My question is, what does that say about the liberals and the Democrats? If being logical and objective is conservative, then what does that say about the other side? What are they? They're not logical and they're not objective. I would agree with that. They're not. Carla said, make America great again. It doesn't mean you're a Trump supporter. Okay. I haven't heard people really separate them because Trump came out with the phrase is fine. But I don't mind if somebody labels me a Trump. I get labeled a Trump supporter every day on social media. Whenever I push back on some nonsense somebody says, somebody labels me a Trump supporter, and I don't argue with them like, hey, I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't care if people think that I'm a Trump supporter. I can support anything that I want to support. I have no bosses. Nobody can do anything to me. And America's the land of the free. You got the freedom to have whatever opinion you want. And again, I am just defending logical thinking and objectivity. And if that makes me MAGA, then so be it. I'm not on board with what Kamala Harris was pushing. So if there's only two options, then I'm taking the MAGA option, just to be clear. Carlos said, excellent questions. When was America not great? Yeah, exactly. America's always been great. That's what makes America great. President can't stop me from educating my children. Right. The president can't really stop you from doing anything. If you're a citizen and you live here. Now, if you're trying to get in the country and you don't have paperwork, now the president can stop that. But if you live here and you have citizenship, the president can't really stop you from doing what you want to do as long as it's, again, within the confines of the law. Crystal said, your new VP is a great example of making the most of opportunities in America. Yes, that's a good point. JD Vance. Indiana said, people were so unhinged today. Today? That's every day. That's every day. Crystal said, oh, yeah, I already read that. Carlos said, the child support plan is that the person paying child support gets to claim the child on taxes. There's nothing wrong with that. They should be able to claim them on taxes. You paying the money. I think actually, here's what I think they should do. I think the government should allow, if two parents are together and raising a kid in the same house, then they should both be able to claim the kid on the taxes. If they're filing independently and they're filing jointly, there should be a bigger benefit for them if they're raising a kid in the house. I think they should benefit that because that would incentivize parents staying together and building two-parent homes. And if someone's paying child support and the parents are separated, but one of the parents is paying child support because they're not with the kid, they get to claim them on taxes. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think maybe they should allow both of them to claim it, but then that would go against the other thing that I just said. So somebody would have to figure that one out. But I think there should be an extra benefit when there are two parents at home raising the kids in the same house. When both parents are in the same house raising a kid, there should be a bigger tax benefit to them than the tax benefit for two parents who are separated raising a kid. Why? Because that would incentivize two-parent homes, and we need two-parent homes in America, especially in the Black community. The biggest challenge in the Black community is the lack of two-parent homes, not anything else. Being able to ask questions of our leaders another way America is great. Yeah, well, the fact that Trump will actually allow himself to be questioned by the free press is great. Well, Joe Biden did not do that. Joe Biden did not answer questions from the press. He would not sit and do what Trump just did yesterday. Trump was sitting in the Oval Office yesterday. Y'all can look this up. The video's on YouTube. It was about an hour long, and I listened to it. You don't even have to watch it. You can just listen to it. And he's just signing a bunch of stuff. His staff is putting papers in front of him. He's signing them. And at the same time, he's answering questions from the press. The press is in there asking him questions while he's talking. Joe Biden did not do that for 4 years straight. And Kamala Harris wouldn't want to do it because, again, what's she going to say? When they start asking her tough questions, she can't answer them. So that alone makes Trump the better choice. At least there's transparency with this guy. Whether you like him or not, nobody can say that he's fake. Nobody can say that he is hiding, and nobody can say that he dodges questions. All right, the guy will address whatever he's doing. He's telling you exactly what he's doing, why he's doing it, what his thinking is behind it, and you can ask him whatever you want to ask him. Can you say that about Joe Biden? Hell no. Could you say it about Kamala? No. So, again, just on that alone, I'd rather have Trump because at least he's transparent and I know what he's doing. I have no idea what the other ones were doing. Let's see. MC said, how about no taxes? I would be on board with that. Good thing about you still got to pay taxes here, federal taxes, but in the state of Florida, there's no income tax. So that's a good thing. In the state of Florida, there's no income tax. Now, you live somewhere like California, the tax over there is crazy. As I was thinking about moving to California maybe about 6-7 years ago, then I looked at the housing. The housing costs more, but it wasn't as nice as in South Florida, and the taxes are crazy. And you all got a Gavin Newsom as your governor. I said, nope, those three things combined. Nope, I'll just stay here in South Florida, and I've stayed. Crespo said, say again, please, you make babies your responsibility. Yes, your kids are your responsibility. That is for all parents, mothers and fathers, even if y'all not together. Is the parents' responsibility how the kids turn up. Your kids turn up crazy, that's your responsibility of the parents. So it's nothing the government can do to make you not do your job as a parent. Carl said California and New York have crazy taxes. Yeah, they do. So I like no income tax states. I believe Texas is no income tax. Somebody confirm that? I believe Texas is no income tax. I know that I believe Tennessee is also no income tax, no state income tax. And Florida is definitely no income tax. NPR said, can you explain what's a tariff in layman terms? Yes, a tariff means an extra tax that a country has to pay to import goods here, or the receiver of the goods has to pay. So the whole argument with tariffs during the election cycle was who pays the tariff? Does the country that's receiving the goods pay, or the country that's sending the goods pay? And that was really the conversation. But a tariff is basically an extra tax you have to pay if you're going to import goods into somebody else's space. So if let's say I manufacture sneakers and I get the sneakers made in another country, Brazil. I keep using Brazil because I can say that safely on TikTok. And I import sneakers. The government in America could say, well, Dre, since you're importing your sneakers from outside of this country, you're bringing in goods from outside the country, you have to pay basically a tax for every sneaker you bring in. So you bring in 10 sneakers, you got to pay $1 for each one. So now you got to pay a $10 tariff for the sneakers. Or if they decide to raise the tariff, and now Dre is a $10 tariff, now I got to pay $100 for 10 sneakers. Or it's $1,000, now I got to pay $10,000 for the tariff. And the higher the tariffs, the more it's hurting my pockets because I got to pay to do that. And that is designed theoretically, big picture here, to incentivize me to stop importing goods from other countries, but instead make my stuff here in America, which means I have to hire more American workers. There's more American industry, and it helps the country in general, even though it might hurt me in the short term because I got to spend more money to hire Americans than I have to spend to pay for my stuff to come from another country, because in other countries, the cost of living is a lot lower. So there's a give and a take from this. So there are people in America who don't like the concept of the tariff because you understand that if you got to pay that tariff, it costs you more money to import goods. Therefore, you might be incentivized to hire American workers and do all your manufacturing here. The problem is American workers need more money than a worker in Indonesia. So that's the whole back and forth. There's no right answer to it, but Donald Trump made the decision that it's America first. He wants to make everything happen in America. So he's making his decisions based on, I want to give more jobs to Americans, and I'm going to make companies who are not hiring Americans, because you're outsourcing your work to other countries. We're going to make you pay for the fact that you're outsourcing your work. And the more he makes them pay, again, theoretically, they will do that less. Now, is it actually going to work? We will see. He tried this during his first term. He did a good amount of this during his first term. Delaware has no income tax. Okay, I didn't know that. Shout out to Delaware. So, all right, I answered the questions here. Anybody got anything else? I'll take a couple more. So someone said, what's my understanding on imports from the C word? I can't say that country's name here on the app that I'm on, Crespo. And a heavy presence in all our stores. Well, that's American manufacturers. American companies have decided to export their manufacturing to other countries. The reason why most of you, when you look at the stuff that you have, you look at the little tags on the back of your clothes and stuff like that, and it says made in, and it often does not say the United States, is made in other countries. The reason that businesses get their stuff manufactured and made in countries outside of America is not because Americans are incapable of making the stuff, but because it is a lot cheaper to manufacture. Let's say I made t-shirts. If I have a t-shirt business and I'm selling 50,000 t-shirts a month, it costs me a lot less money to get my t-shirts made in Brazil, for example, than if I get my t-shirts made in Tampa Bay. Why? Because in Tampa Bay, I have to pay more money for the factory. I have to pay more money to the workers. The workers need a living wage. So these workers got to make $18 an hour, whereas the workers over in Brazil make $6 an hour. Or which one would you do? If you ran a business, which one would you do? Would you pay $6 an hour for your workers? Or would you pay $18 an hour? If you pay $18 an hour, you're making a lot less money. You're keeping a lot less money from your sales. This is why companies in America outsource their work and their manufacturing to other countries, because it's a lot cheaper to get things done outside of the country. What Donald Trump is doing to counteract that is making you pay a tax in exchange for doing that. That's the whole game that is being played right now. So that's the whole tariff conversation. Joe said corporations will just pay the tariff and raise prices on the products. Yes, that's exactly correct. So what happens is, most of the time when businesses get increased costs, they do not simply eat the costs. So if I'm Apple, for example, and Donald Trump puts a tariff on me, I'm just using them as an example. Apple has ways around this stuff. Apple's very good, but let's just say I'm Apple, because y'all know who they are. And Donald Trump says, all right, Apple, for every one phone you bring into the country, because you're not making them in America, you got to pay an extra $1 for the phone. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot of money. But let's say Apple's bringing in 1 million phones a month. So that means $1 million every month they have to pay extra to the government just because they're bringing it from outside of the country. Now, Apple now has an extra $1 million that they used to be able to keep. Now they got to give it up. So how's Apple going to make it? Now, here's the thing about business that all of you need to understand. Businesses do not just eat costs. If you increase the costs for a business, the business finds a way to make that money back. So Apple now says, okay, we got to figure out a way to make back our $1 million that we have to give to the government. So what do? Since they're paying a $1 tariff, here's what they do. They raise the price of the phone by $1. Now, $1 increase in price doesn't make it seem like a big difference to most of you. If your phone costs $1,050, now costs $1,051, you'll probably still buy the phone. But over time, as those costs keep going up, now it's $1,000, now it's $1,100, now it's $1,200, now it's $1,500, now it's $2,000 for the phone. Eventually, it starts squeezing out the customers, and people can't afford. So this is a form of how costs go up and how people start complaining about costs. And then they go to the government and say, well, help us with the costs. The problem is the government is the one who created the situation that led to the increased costs. That's why there are no perfect outcomes. And that's why working in government is a very stressful job, especially as president, because there's no perfect solution to anything. No matter what you do, somebody's going to be pissed off. If you get costs to be lowered, then the people who are going to be pissed off might be the businesses, because they can't make it as much money from selling their stuff. If you raise the cost, then the people might be pissed off because they can't afford anything. Again, you can't please everybody. And some people say, well, why don't you just help the people and piss off the businesses? The problem is the businesses are the ones who provide the money and the support that allows a candidate to run a campaign and win an election. So if you don't have their money, you can't win. So there's no perfect outcome. No matter what you do, somebody's going to be pissed off. So any of you thinking about working in government, you should understand this. All right, you can never please everybody. It is impossible. So what businesses do, what Joe said over here on YouTube is correct. is that they usually raise their prices. So if you make businesses have to spend more money, they will raise their prices, and the increased cost does not go to the business. It doesn't go to Apple. It goes to you. You have to spend more money to buy their phone. They're going to charge you more money. The problem is some people can't afford to spend more money for the phone. So they complain that they can't afford anything. Again, this is what just happened in the previous election cycle. They can't afford to buy stuff because the price keeps going up. Well, again, there's no right answer to this because prices are always going to go up, because the reason that prices always go up, just to help you all understand, I did a whole live on this maybe like 3 months ago. I talked about why the middle class is disappearing. I got a podcast episode on this too. I think I did a 3-part series on this because it's a very deep conversation. The US dollar is backed by absolutely nothing. It's backed by faith. All money is backed by faith generally. Even crypto is all backed by faith. As long as people believe in it, it's worth something. If people stop believing in the dollar becomes worthless. Same thing with Bitcoin. It's worth something because we believe that it's worth something. If we stop believing in it, then it's worth nothing. The US dollar used to be backed by gold. In other words, it used to be, before I was born, that every dollar in circulation was backed by actual, tangible, actual gold. That's not the case anymore. We used to be on this thing. They called it the gold standard. It meant every dollar had to be backed by real gold. So we couldn't just put money into circulation unless we had the actual gold. That's when a dollar was actually a dollar. Dollar was actually worth something. What happened is we took ourselves off the gold standard, and there's a whole conversation you could read into. You go look it up on the internet, Chat GPT, why we did this. But we took ourselves off the gold standard, and now the dollar is just backed by the faith in the U.S. Treasury. That's it. If you look at an actual dollar bill, you'll see it says it on there, faith. It says something about the faith in God we trust, and the U.S. Treasury note, et cetera, et cetera. That dollar is actually just a piece of paper that's worthless. Only reason that if you're walking down the street, you see a dollar on the ground, the reason you stop and pick it up is not because the paper is worth something, but because of your belief that a dollar means you can buy something with it. Everybody understand that? And what happens is the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not federal, is not actually part of the government. There are no reserves. They have nothing in reserve, and it's not actually a bank. The Federal Reserve Bank, they print money. So every time the government wants more money, they go to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve puts more money into circulation. And here's what you need to understand. I said this about immigration. The more something is circulated, the less valuable it is. The value of something goes up when there's scarcity. When there's scarcity of a thing, it becomes more valuable. So it's kind of like, if you know anything about the sports world, the trading card business. If you have a Michael Jordan rookie card that's signed by Michael Jordan, that's a very valuable thing because there are not 1,000 of these available. There's only a few of them. So if you have one, it's worth a lot of money. Why? Because there's only one or 10 or 5. But if there were 1 million of them, then they're worth not as much simply because they're so easy to get. There's a reason why $1 is worth more than a penny. All right. And $100 bill is worth more than a $1 bill. Why? Because there are fewer of them. The scarcity of it makes it worth more. So every time the Federal Reserve puts more money into circulation, the value of your money, the dollars you have in your pocket, goes down. So if you just hold on to money, the value of your money just keeps going down, 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 down. This is why you hear people who talk about finance. This is not my area of expertise, but I understand it enough to explain this to you. When you hear people talking about finance, they tell you don't hold your money in the bank. Don't just put it in a savings account. Don't hide it under your mattress, because that money is worth less today than it was a month ago. Why? Because the more money goes into circulation, the value just goes down. That's why you got to put your money to work for you. Again, any of you read anything about finance, everybody agrees on this. Your money has to go work for you. You can't just have it sitting there because the value is always decreasing. So to make your money work for you, you do things like investing. And there's many things you can invest in. Some people invest in real estate. Some people invest in crypto. Some people invest in the stock markets. People invest in treasury bonds and all those kind of things. I'm not your person to tell you exactly what to do with your money, but you can go look in the direction of people who talk about that. There are many of them out there, y'all. They're easy to find. And you read up on a bunch of them, and then you make your own decisions. But I do agree generally with the point that you have to make your money work for you. You cannot just, value of that money is always decreasing every single day. So if you had $1,000 in cash on January 20th, today's the 20th, right? 21st of 2024, that same $1,000 is still $1,000. It's not like it goes from $1,000 to $900. So when I say the value decreases, that's not what I mean. What I mean is what you could buy for $1,000 last January, you cannot always buy the same stuff for $1,000 this January. That what you could buy for $1,000 last year now might cost $1,100. So $1,000 just doesn't buy the same thing that it used to buy. Now it may not change that quickly, but if you want a more visceral example of this, call up your grandmother and ask her how much did it cost to go to the movies when she was your age, whatever age you are now. How much did it cost to go to the movies? And your grandmother will tell you it was like $1. It was like $2 to go to the movies. How much does it cost to go to the movies today? You go to the movies, you, one other person, and a kid. How much are you spending? You're spending probably $80 to go to the movies, or on a weekend, let's say. Maybe if you go to the weekday matinee, you get a cheap ticket. But between the tickets, the concession stand, you're spending $80 to go to the movies. It used to be $8 total back in the, who knows, the 30s and the 40s. But now, look how much it is. That's also known as inflation. That's the increased cost of life. Nick says that's not sustainable. Money needs to be backed by something valuable, not just trust. Well, theoretically, Nick, you're correct. But how are we going to do that? Once you let the cat out the bag, it's pretty much over. Once the toothpaste is out the tube, it's hard to put it back. So I don't know how we're going to do that. Only way that's going to happen, Nick, you're correct. But the only way that's going to happen is if we have complete anarchy and complete upheaval of our system. Now, so y'all want to talk about an insurrection. Okay, it would have to be something like that for us to get back to that. It would be a complete overturn of everything we have in our current system. And that would mean complete anarchy and chaos in the streets. And I don't think y'all really want that. But that's the only way we get back to it. So let me see if I got any more comments I need to respond to. Indiana said, countries who are important to our country who charge us tariffs want to charge. Yes, exactly. He wants to basically even the game out or put us back on a higher end of it because we spend more money. Our country spends a lot of money, meaning the people. Carla said, more people should logically explain issues like you do. Appreciate it. Well, Carla, I will say this humbly. I don't think most people had the ability to explain things the way that I do. That is my superpower, is my ability to break things down and make them easy to understand. So the better I understand it, the better I can help other people understand it. George said, greed is the common factor that causes most of the problems. George, you know what? I believe you're correct. Greed is the common factor, but I don't think greed is a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You didn't say it was a bad thing, but a lot of problems do come from greed. It also comes from a lot of people's lack of ambition to get involved in the game. So, and there's several other factors too, not just those. Carla says, stay away from the concession stands, carry a big purse. Yeah. If you're going to go to the movies, you should not buy from the concession stands. They're taxing you. I used to work at a movie concession stand, and like a bag of Skittles that you could get at Walgreens for $3 at the movie theater is like $8. So they make a lot of money on concessions. So any of you want to get involved in that game, work in the movie business or buy a movie theater and start selling concessions. You'll make a ton of money. So a lot of money made off that stuff. All right. So I think Paradigm Shift said, that's real. Not everybody is intellectual. You're right about that. Yes, that's correct. And so that's my superpower. So everybody, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about immigration. I told you I was going to talk about that. And unless something else happens, you never know. Trump, I'm sure, is going to do a whole lot of things in his first days back in office. But barring anything that bumps that off the list, tomorrow I'm going to talk about immigration. And is immigration over, and why what Trump is doing with immigration? I'm going to tell you what I believe tomorrow. So 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday is when I do these live streams. Joe said housing prices have increased way faster than income. Developers have so much money that they have destroyed that dream for many. Yeah, I agree with that, Joe. And also, it was sold to Americans that buying a house was the dream. That was a marketing concept the government came up with. A beautiful marketing concept because it worked. And a lot of people to this day believe that buying a house is what you're supposed to do. That was just a marketing concept that was sold to Americans. So a lot of this stuff has been sold to us. It doesn't make it a bad thing, but it's just been sold to us. So you're right. All that said, tomorrow, everybody, 8 a.m. Eastern, I'll be here live. Make sure you're following my YouTube channel because that's where all my replays are on YouTube. So it's youtube.com/@DreB, or just look my name up. My name is Dre Baldwin. I'm very easy to find on the internet. I'm on every social media platform you like. I'm active on all of them: LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, X, TikTok. On X, formerly known as Twitter, my name is Dre All Day. That's where I talk about current events, and I do actually engage with people on there and debate with people on there and argue with people on there and point out the stupid arguments that a lot of people try to put forward on X. That's fun. I will be doing a good amount of that today, as I usually do. Now that Trump's around and back in office, it'll be a whole lot of easy stuff to pick on X. So I'll be over there also. And get on my email list by going to workonmygame.com. Workonmygame.com. Get on my email list. I put those emails out every single day. And as usual, I got to go to the bathroom. It's 9:30. All right, Carla, appreciate you. Thank you. Everybody have a great day. See you all tomorrow. Work on your game. We out of here.